that you have, all right? And I'm about to start sharing my screen, okay? Yep, I want to share this one. All right. So, like I said before, we're trying to just figure out this information. I have the notes page pulled up now. So if you didn't have access to it, it's here. I'm going to just take this link and just put it in the chat on the side so you can have it as I'm working through the problems that we're going to be working on through the course of this lesson. So let me put it in the chat over here to the side. Oh, here we go. All right, so we have this. So when we're looking at it, of course, like I was saying, it has the minimum value, the median, Q1, Q3, and the maximum value, all right? We can get that from the graphing calculator, and we can get it from Desmos. If you wanted to do this on Desmos, it's real simple. Just go to desmos.com, all right? And then from there, start graphing. And usually what you would have to do would be, we usually use the keyboard, all right? So from the keyboard, you would choose functions. And you see right here where it says stats, you would choose what you want to do for statistics, all right? So the easiest thing, in my opinion, when you're doing this in Desmos, take the numbers list that you have and just give it a name. So I'm going to call it list E because this is our first example. And list E, I had the numbers 2, 3, 10, 7, and 8. So I'm going to do 2, 3, 10, 7, 8. All right, so that's my list here, all right? So if I wanted to know the median or the mean or whatever of this list, I would just do mean, and then I'm talking about list E, so in parentheses, I would just put E. All right, and so then I would have my, so it would tell me my mean. It would say the mean would be 6, okay? If I wanted to find the median, all right, so I can just choose median, or I can type out the word median and put in E, and it would tell me the median of the list would be 7. All right, I typed the wrong number in my graphing calculator, so I'm correcting it now. All right, so it'd be 7. If I wanted to find the minimum, I can just start typing in minimum, min, and once again, you can get it from the functions here. So min, and I want to do for E, it would tell me the value in the list is 2. All right, so all that's there, okay? Any questions about the Desmos part, y'all? If you want to find a quartile, you could just choose quartile, all right? And this is a little different. If you want to find quartile 1, you would have to do, come on. You have to put the list in first and then number 1. So it knows you want to find the first quartile. So the first quartile is 2.5. All right. And if you want to find the third quartile, you do the same thing. Just type out quartile and then your list, and then the third quartile will be 9. All right. So you can get all this here. And then your box plot, you can get it from Desmos as well. If you just choose functions, stats, excuse me, and then you choose distribution, sorry, not stats, choose where you say box plot right here, choose box plot. And then this would set E. And look, it drew my box plot for me, it's right here. So that's the minimum. The first quartile was at 2.5. The median was over at 7. The third quartile was 9, and the maximum value was 10. This is what we call our 5-number summary. All right, y'all, I forgot what the no is for. What's the no? For those in the chat, when you put no, what's that for? And y'all, you can unmute your mic. So, no, you don't understand. Okay, we get, okay. All right. Back to the adults, okay? So we got our box plot between Q1 and Q3. That's what our quartiles, our first quartile and our third quartile. The median is technically the second quartile. We just don't call it the second quartile, all right? So quartile, root word is quarter, all right? Quarter means 25%. So when we're talking about our quartiles here, this is like, excuse me, the middle 50% of the data. So from the minimum to Q1, that's the first 25%. From Q1 to the median, that's the second 25%. The median to Q3, that's the third 25%. And then Q3 to the maximum, that's the last 25%. All right. So the middle part of our data is there. We got some pros and cons to the box plot. Advantages, you get your 5-number summary, you can compare two data sets. You don't, only downside to is you don't see the exact values because it's a box plot. It doesn't list out all of our values here. Okay. So you should have seen was a dot plot. Those ones are dots. Like if you had 5 ones over the number 1, you put 5 dots. Over the number 2, you would put 3 dots. Over the number 4, if it was 4 of them, you would put 4 dots, so on. All right. So it just shows how many times a set of data repeats. So when you're dealing with a dot plot, it's really easy to make. It's time consuming though, because if you had like 100 ones, you would have to put 100 dots over 1. And that can take a really, really, really long time to write out. So those generally aren't the ones we use because they take so long to make. All right. A histogram can also be called a frequency plot because it tells you how many times something occurs within a certain interval or a certain range. You still won't get it back exact values, and you can compare two different sets of data when you're talking about a frequency plot. So I went over mean, all right? This is how we calculate mean, all right? Same thing with median, is the number in the middle, all right? Remember, if you have 2 numbers in the middle, anybody remember what you're supposed to do if it's 2 numbers in the middle when you're calculating mean, median, mode, range? If it's 2 numbers in the middle. And let's say you don't have the calculator. All right, so let's say I had the list of numbers. Hopefully y'all can see this, like 5, 7, 8, 12. And I have 2 numbers in the middle this time. And I want to find the median of those numbers. So of course I can put it in the calculator. Yep, that's right. Add together and divide by 2, because that's how we find a number in the middle. So I'll just add 7 and 8 together and divide it by 2. And I find it at 7.5. So my median for this list of data would be 7.5. So even though I don't have 7.5 isn't in my list. So remember, don't add it into the list. It's just if they ask you for the median, what would be there, okay? So let's keep it rolling. So mean, median, okay? Did the quartile stuff. This is what I talked about, and identified the minimum in the first quartile. Third quartile, same thing. Between the median and the third quartile is the next 25%. All right. So basically you got 3 quarters. 1, 2, 3. All right. Outlier. Can anybody tell me what an outlier is? Or anybody ever heard the word outlier before? Like, what is an outlier? What does it do? What's the purpose of an outlier? Anybody know? Okay. All right, an outlier, very simple, is outlier. Outlier means it does not fit in. Outlier means it doesn't fit in. So looking at this example right here, it's all these points right here. Our side. All right. So it's a number or a piece of data that does not fit in with the rest of the values. Yeah. Some outside number different from others. That's right, Kanaya. Exactly. So think about it like this. Sometimes they just give you a list of numbers and they say, okay, well, what's the outlier? All right. So if I gave a list of numbers, let's say I had a list like -2, -5, -17, and then like 100. Let's say I gave you those list of numbers, right? So the thing would be, well, what would be an outlier? Well, you got -2, -5, -17, that's pushing it. But in this positive 100, that definitely does not fit in with my other data here. All right, so my outlier there would be the 100, okay? Outlier there would be the 100 that's there. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about on this particular thing, on this particular slideshow is interquartile range. All right. So if you look here, if I want to find interquartile range, it's abbreviated to IQR. If I want to find interquartile range, all I do is subtract Q3 minus Q1. Because the regular range, remember, regular range, you subtract the highest and lowest number from each other. All right. Interquartile range, you subtract the highest quartile, the Q3 that we have here, and subtract Q1. All right. So for example, here they had their quartile, Q3 was 20, Q1 was 6. So to find the interquartile range, they just subtract on Desmos. I'm going to do it for this list of numbers. So 4, 6, 8, 9. So I'm not going to worry about mean. I'm just going to worry about my quartiles. All right. So my new list of numbers is going to be on Desmos 4, 6, 8, 9, 11, 12, 15, 15. 11, 12, 15, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, 16, 16, 18, 19, 20. Okay. So that's my list of numbers. All right. And I have quartile 1 and I have quartile 3. And if I want to find their value, I'm just going to do Q3, which is 17, subtract Q1, which is 8.5. And I find out that the interquartile range is going to be 8.5. Questions on how we calculate the interquartile range? So mean, median, mode, range, quartiles, interquartile range. We got a box plot and we got a histogram. Once again, like I said, Desmos will create all these things for you. You don't have to worry about creating them yourself. Okay. And then we have this here. Once again, this is just the handout that has all the different things there as well. So you have access to those too. All right. Do y'all have any questions about anything that I've done in the lesson? There, and y'all look, I want to go into your USA Test Prep assignment real quick, because I know some people are having some difficulties remembering when the assignments are due. Remember, when you go in the USA Test Prep, on your window, it shows you your assignment time as far as how long you took on it, if you paused it or reset it or whatever, right? And then it also shows you, let's see how I want to do this. Send it real quick. All right. So it shows you the assignment time, but it also shows you when it's due, because I know a lot of you are saying, like, when is this due? How do I get this done? And so on. So let me change my presentation. Give me a second. All right. So I'm just going to sign in here, and I'll show my screen back to you in a second. All right. All right. So when we get there in this USA Test Prep screen, window, oh, this window, okay. All right, so due dates. All right, so the first one you're going to have today is the Intro to Statistics classwork. That's your assignment for today. All right, on this one you get 3 attempts. Okay, so please make sure when you're doing them, you're checking and make sure when I give you the feedback on those free response questions that you are actually looking at the feedback and not just submitting another attempt and then it's the same feedback each time. Also on USA Test Prep Now, you can send me a direct message in there as well. So me a question, we can instant message back and forth to me. You can do that to me for me individually, okay? So your assignment for today is the Intros to Statistics classwork. One thing I just want you to look at when you're in there, do a little preview. All right, so it's going to be questions like this, like what we just did. Identify the range. This one, stem and leaf plot like a dot plot. These are just going to be your general questions here, all right? Comparing the dot plots, histograms, stem and leaf plots, okay? And when you're going into your performance tags, same thing. Find your mean, median, mode, range of the data. Once again, remember, you can do it on Desmos. So I showed you how to do it there. If you weren't in at the beginning, I'm going to upload this video on my channel so you can always go back and rewatch it. Identifying those things on this number. And what would be the outlier? All right, your 2-part question, what would the box plot be? Remember, you can create this on Desmos. So remember how I had the Desmos things there. And your free response question, this is kind of what I want to look at too. Didn't get to do this a whole lot because it was choppy in the YouTube video, but okay. All right, so here's like a data display for us. All right. And we're almost done, y'all, so bear with me. Here's our data display. All right, so it says he created 2 frequency distributions showing the final exam scores for his first and 4th period class. All right, the modes of the class were 82 and 85. So remember, mode is the number that shows up the most, all right? So basically in his first period, it's saying most students scored an 85, a number of students scored 85, and then in his fourth period, a number of students scored 85, right? And this is his range. These are the ranges of scores, all right? So from here to here will be this first period class, and then fourth period will be from here to here. Okay. All right. So the question is, what class would probably have the higher range of scores? What class do you think would have the highest range of scores based on just looking at these graphs right here? Because these are called normal distributions. Just looking at the scores, which class do you think would have the greatest range, the highest range? You can just put it in the chat on the side. All right, so remember, don't look at the highest number, the highest range. So remember, the scores are going from first period, all right? So I see one person said first and some people said fourth. So this is like 0, right? This is like 80 something. This is probably, we're gonna say this estimated like, we'll say this is probably like 20 to 100, and this would be almost 0 to 100, right? So it would be fourth period because their graph is more spread out from one end to the other end. So that class would be the class that would have the highest range of values, would be fourth period, okay? Yeah, so just be careful looking at that graph, okay? So they would have the lowest to the highest range, all right? Okay. Then the next question it asks you is, which class probably has the higher mean? So which class do you think had the highest average? All right. So overall, they had the highest class average. Which class do you think, based on just looking at these graphs, right? So remember, first period, this is the graph of first period, and this is the graph of fourth period. So just looking at the graphs, which one do you think would have the highest mean? Okay, so for the ones who answered yes, they would have the highest mean. And this is why, because if you look at this graph here, first period, their grades weren't spread out as much as fourth period, right? So basically somebody in fourth period made a 0, basically, and then the highest grade was 100. So when you started adding those scores together, like let's say it was like a 0, then somebody made like a 10, and we just estimated like, let's say like it was a 0, a 10, let's say somebody made like a 30, then we know a lot of people made 85s, right? And then we got somebody who made 100. That's for fourth period. But if we go up to like first period, right? First period's first grade is nowhere near 100. This might be like a 40 or like a 30. All right. So they automatically are already ahead of fourth period because no one in first period made a 0. So let's say we'll have like a 30, a 50. We know a number of people made 82s, right? And then we definitely know somebody made 100. So look, my numbers already are starting higher than fourth period's number. So I would have to have, all right, the greatest mean overall because my numbers are closer together. They're not as spread out as fourth period's numbers. So my mean would have to be higher. Does that make sense? If I need to explain it differently, let me know, okay? Any questions about that explanation? Okay, I got one no. Can I get anybody else? Okay, another nope. Anyone else? All right. And then the last part of that question says, which class probably has the higher median? All right. So which class has the higher median? So we know the modes are 82 and 85. So we know which class has the largest range, which class has the higher mean. So now we need to say which class has the higher median. Which class will have the higher median? You think? What do you think it's going to be, first period or fourth period, just looking at the graphs? Which class? Sure, I'll show the graph again. Okay, I got a fourth period. Anybody else got an opinion? I got one for fourth. Because remember, the median is the number that's in the middle, right? So you're looking at like potentially where the middle of this graph would be. Maybe first question mark, I'm not sure. All right, so remember, the median is the number that's in the middle, right? So looking at the two graphs, where is the middle number for this one? Just looking at the graph, where is like the middle of the graph? And then looking at this one, where is the middle of the graph? Anybody want to change their answer? Because remember, the median is the number that's in the middle, all right? So you have your two graphs, and you're looking at where the middle of that graph should be. No, the line does not represent, no. The line does not represent the middle. No, it doesn't represent the middle. No, that line does not represent the middle. No. That's just, because if you got to think about it, if this was the middle, then this is the middle of the data. For example, let's say at fourth period, if this was the middle, there's no way that could be the middle because, well, first off, it's not in the middle of the graph. And like this section is so small and this section is so big. So that's no way that could be the middle, okay? This one, that's almost the middle. The middle would be a little more over to the left. But yeah, it's the middle number, remember, it's how the graph is divided. It just so happens that it was on the 85 and 82 because those are the modes for this data. Okay. So the one that would have the highest mode is going to be, I'm sorry, the highest median is going to be first period because the middle is really close to 82. The middle over here is a good distance below this 85. It's probably more like 80. All right. So it's not the 50% of the data that's there. Okay. So just be careful when you get to this question. I've explained it to you. So hopefully you'll get it correct. Okay. So any questions before you go? Oh, okay. No, no, no. All right. All right. So if we're all good here and there are no questions, y'all, that's it for today. Once again, remember the last 30 minutes, I'll be in here to answer questions. If you're confused about anything as you start the assignment, I don't know why it's still kind of okay, there it is. I was like, I don't know why, but there it is. Now it's available. All right. So yep. So remember, get the assignment done, and please, please, please ask questions, check in with me. If you got to check in throughout the day, send me a remind message, do all those things. All right, y'all. So thank you for watching and participating. And I will talk to you shortly if you have any questions, okay?